a 2016 shooting that killed a 25-year-old mother of four and led to calls for increased surveillance on Bay Area freeways, was linked to a feud between San Francisco gangs, court records show. The gang, known as Towerside, was the subject of a controversial 2010 gang injunction in San Francisco, and has since seen its members move east into Contra Costa, Sacramento and other parts of Northern California, according to authorities. Last month, a judge ordered two alleged gang members, Marcus Gaines and Demario Pittiard, to stand trial on charges that they chased a car being driven by Vallejo resident Shanique Marie onto Highway 4, and shot at her several times in an attempt to kill her passenger, a San Francisco man in his 20s. Marie, not believed to be the intended target of the shooting, was struck by a bullet and killed. Her boyfriend, a passenger, was shot in his hand. The homicide was one of dozens of freeway shootings in 2015 and 2016 that shook Bay Area residents and led to widespread calls for increased police presence and additional cameras on local freeways and highways. In its immediate aftermath, Pittsburgh city leaders made plans to increase surveillance along the stretch of Highway 4 that runs through town. Gaines and Pittiard were arrested months after the killing, along with Corey McGrowy and Kevin Carter, both of Antioch. All four defendants were ordered to stand trial at their preliminary hearings last year, but shortly thereafter, authorities dropped all charges against Carter. Prosecutor Chad Mollick wrote an email to defense attorneys saying that was a tough call, but that authorities could not take Carter to a jury with the current evidence. McGrowy, meanwhile, pleaded out to a gun possession charge and received a sentence of 1 year and 4 days in prison, with 244 days credit for time served. The case against Gaines and Pittiard is based on numerous pieces of circumstantial evidence, but is also marred by inconsistent witness statements. For instance, the man in his 20s, whom police believe was the intended victim, initially told authorities it was a group of Mexicans who shot him, then changed his story and simply told investigators to check surveillance footage from a Valero gas station in Pittsburgh. When detectives reviewed that footage, they saw a brief interaction between the Marie's boyfriend and Gaines, who promptly got on his phone. Minutes later, a car came to pick him up, and followed the vehicle containing Marie and her boyfriend. When the Lexus got onto Highway 4, witnesses say another car sped up alongside it and fired several shots. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, the alleged intended victim was overheard on the phone asking someone to pick him up, and repeating the phrase, "It was a hit." The car authorities say was used in the shooting later turned up in Sacramento, less than a half-mile away from Pittiard's mother's home, authorities said. 2 of 4 suspects arrested in fatal Highway 4 shooting. A San Francisco police gang expert testified in preliminary hearings held for the defendants, both last year and in January. He identified them as Towerside gang members, and linked Marie's boyfriend to a different San Francisco gang. But his testimony appeared inconsistent. In one hearing, the officer described him as a rival gang member, and in another he said the man was simply associated with the gang. In their second preliminary hearing in January, Gaines and Pittiard were held to answer on murder and attempted murder charges, as well as numerous gang enhancements. They've both pleaded not guilty. A trial date has not yet been set.